Hello and welcome, friends. Welcome to another episode where I review vintage fountain pen beauties. In this episode, I have for you a wonderful Montblanc Masterpiece from the beginning of the 1950s. And I present to you the wonderful Montblanc Masterpiece 144. It's been a year since I received this beauty, and let me remind you what I paid for it. I paid 1020 lace, the equivalent of 205.26 euros, or 222.17 US dollars. And I did not make its review because I did not know how that telescopic filling piston mechanism work. And to my shame, guys, I did not figure it out. Maybe I have here a functioning piece. We will try to fill it up in this video. Maybe I don't know to the filling procedure, but certainly I will try my best. You know that you will see a writing sample at the end of this video, because if I can't fill it the classic way, we will dip it in ink and we will see how this beauty writes. Let me start by saying that this is a 144 from the beginning of the 1950s. How do I know that, guys? And this pen has several clues to it. Let me zoom on it. So definitely we have the classic shape cigar design, but this is common also on newer fountain pens. One clue at the beginning of it is this part over here, this logo, this Montblanc logo. Well, this logo has developed this little patina. Here I have a logo from a normal fountain pen. This was made of the material called casein. Actually, it was made out of, believe it or not, milk, and in time it develops this patina. On the modern ones, I believe that this is simple injected plastic. So this is one clue, guys. Usually on the old pens from the 1930s, 1940s, and the beginning of the 1950s, you see this hint. Okay, this is one of the hints, and the other hint is it's basically its dimensions. So let me start with the dimensions. I have here another masterpiece from the early 1950s, and this is a 146 model, and you can see it's slightly longer than the other model. And I will show you also the nib, because the main difference is in the nib. This has a number 6 nib, and this has a number 4 nib. You can see the differences between the nibs, the wonderful two-tone 14 karat nibs. Another important clue about the period when this fountain pen was made, again, both of them have this ski slope type feed. Well, guys, this ski slope type feed was specific to the end of the 1940s and the beginning of the 1950s. I think you can find it till 1953 or 54, and this design was replaced by another one, and this is specific to that limited period. Also, this has an ink window. Unfortunately, it is covered in ink, and maybe when I will restore it, it will look like this one. I don't know. This is a multifaceted ink window at our 144. I did not say we have a Meisterstück, but a masterpiece. This is because this is a Montblanc Masterpiece. You can see Masterpiece written in English. This means that this was a model intended for the export market. And I'm fortunate enough to have also a 146 and also a Masterpiece intended for export market, because on pieces sold in Germany, here it says Meisterstück. Okay guys, it's time now to compare our 144 with other fountain pens. First of all, the Meisterstück 144, this is the old version, because the new version, it looks like this. Unfortunately, it's not a piston filler. You can see is more narrower than the fat one from the beginning of the 1950s. This is a model from 1983, and it uses ink cartridges, or you can fit it also with an ink converter. But this is the new 144. I prefer the old one, and we will focus on it. Also, as a size references, so here I have the 146 from the beginning of the 1950s, and this is another 146, modern one from the 1983. So you can see the difference between the old 146 from the 1950s and the new 146, which is a little bit larger. But thank God that we have also a piston filler, and not the case with the new 144, which is a cartridge filler. And also I have here a slightly bigger version, but also a 146, but this is the duo with a silver cap. Okay, let's leave those aside and let's concentrate on our beautiful, beautiful piece. Of course, being from the beginning of the 1950s, this means it is all made out of celluloid. It has these wonderful, wonderful gold trims. And as I previously suggested to you, the 144, so the ending of that fold means we have a number 4 size nib. Speaking about the nib, we have this beautiful, beautiful two-tone colored nib, quite in a wonderful, wonderful shape. At the end of the turning knob, we have thermically engraved 144, and interesting here, the size of the nib, we have an F, but also a minus, and I don't know what it stands for. F minus. F stands for a fine nib, but also that minus must have a signification. If you know what that means, you can leave it in the comments, guys. So a wonderful, wonderful piece, a classic piece. You probably can see, if I compare it in size with the 146, the variant from the beginning of the 1950s, there's not much more difference between them. You can see the nib is definitely a difference, and they also both have the telescopic filling mechanism. This is stuck on this one, and I couldn't find a proper restorer for this one, and I don't want to take chances because those are very, very expensive pieces. One of the best Montblancs in my collection. I recently acquired some one from the 1930s. They are over there. And stay tuned to this channel, guys, because in the next weeks you will definitely see those reviewed. Those are even more expensive than the ones from the 1950s. Of course, they are from the end of the 30s and the 1940s. So quite rare pieces. Okay, let's return to our pen right over here. You can see basically the same trims and the same rings here, and pretty much a wonderful, wonderful piece. And enough with the comparison and the history lesson, guys. Again, I want to show you the beautiful, beautiful nib before I will start the writing sample. Also, we will see if it is a flexible nib. Let me do a little quick test always you can do this test, and you can see that beautiful, beautiful little flex to the old German nibs from the 1950s. This is a very, very nice characteristic of these old German pieces, and not only from Montblanc but other nibs made in the same period. They have this little flex to them. They are smooth like the modern ones, but when you need, you can flex them and give the writing a little particularity that is you can only achieve it with a vintage piece. I don't have the money to buy the new 149 calligraph version, but I think that it should be the same with this one. Okay, guys, so if we see that the transparency of the ink window, this means that it doesn't have ink in it, and this can be a good sign. And again, I don't know how to operate it. I don't know how a piston telescopic mechanism works. I will definitely open it to you, and you can see this wonderful brass mechanism. It is definitely metal and not plastic that we see on the new ones. And I don't know how to operate it. I don't know how to bring that piston out. So I've opened it like this. Now I'm trying to rotate it like this, and I'm expecting to see the piston, but the piston isn't showing, and now I'm stuck here in this position, and I don't know how to operate it. I don't want to push it, to pressure it. And one advice to you guys, if you see an old piece stuck, just leave it like that. Don't try to apply force on it, especially with this material, celluloid. You can break it and you will definitely regret it. Now I'm bringing it to the original position because I don't see the piston there. You can see. And I definitely sensed a cycle there, so maybe I'm doing something wrong, or maybe this will need restoration. And for this reason, guys, I'm sorry to tell you, I've delayed this review for 1 year trying to figure it out, but unfortunately I could not find information on the internet. I could not find videos on how a telescopic filling mechanism works. I was quite interested about this subject because this type of mechanism was the first mechanism that they ever patented. And it appears that with this telescopic filling mechanism, the ink capacity of the reservoir will increase. And I've seen there are 3 tubes, telescopic tubes, and by retracting them, I think there's much space to store your ink. But I don't know how it works. So maybe I need to do this. So this is very simple. And after I put it in ink, I should rotate it in another part. Please let me know, guys. Again, because it has this cleaning window, probably I won't fill it. And I rarely use it. For this reason, we will do a deep writing session, but I was curious to see how I can fill it up. Of course, probably I will fill it with water. I don't want this beauty to, let's say, I don't know what your opinion is, but this is a rare piece, guys, and I'm not saying it writes better than a mod or worse than a modern one, but if you find it without ink, my advice to you, leave it without ink. I know that most of you who watch this channel think that a fountain pen is a tool, it needs to be used, but believe me, this is part of history, and Probably in the wild you won't see them like this without inking them. I'm not saying it is an NOS piece. I'm not so sure about the history of it. I bought it from the internet, from a guy. That guy bought it from Denmark or Norway. I'm not so sure. At an antique store. I paid him €200. I believe that he got it for €50 or €100. So he made a profit, but I was quite lucky to have this because I've owned that 146, and this is a matching export model with 144. Probably in the future I will buy a 149, also the Masterpiece version with silver rings, but that is very expensive. Price between 1,500 euros or €2,000. So quite an expensive piece. I don't, believe it or not, I don't own a 149. Not a vintage one from the 1950s with silver rings, but not a modern one. So this is quite strange. I don't own a 149, an iconic piece. So this is it, guys. Before I will end it, before I will do the writing sample, I will leave its dimensions. But before I will leave it the dimension, let me compare it with another iconic modern one. I have here a Pelican Souverain M800. You can see. And let's place it with alongside modern 146. So here it is, guys. It's quite a nice piece. And again, I'm quite proud to own it in my collection. So here, I will leave the dimensions of this beauty, and then we will do the writing sample. So for the writing sample, I will change slightly the angle of the camera, and probably, why not, let me use a Montblanc ink, a royal blue ink, or I'm not so sure. Yes, probably a royal blue ink. I thought to myself that I could use a red one or a pink one, but for this classic, it deserves a proper ink, a royal blue ink. I thought to use a black ink, but it is difficult to clean. We will use this royal blue, if you don't mind, guys. And I'm quite curious because it's been several months since I've stored this and I did not use it. I did not try to figure it out, that telescopic filling mechanism. I'm quite afraid of breaking it, guys. And not for the money, I pay €200, but for the history of this piece. I'm not so sure how many people in this side of Europe restore this type of pen. I heard of a wonderful gentleman, Osman Sumer. I'm not sure. This is a Turkish gentleman in Germany that specializes in restoring vintage Montblanc pieces. Maybe when I will have the money, I will bring those pieces to him. I was fortunate enough to buy those pieces, including those Montblancs from the 1930s at lots of fountain pens, and I did not pay large sum of monies. But let me tell you, sometimes I pay for a pen a sum of money, and to restore that pen, it cost me almost double the acquisition price of that pen. So I store them, thinking that I will have enough money to restore them, but then there appear other beauties on the market, on the wild market, unrestored beauties, but at very reasonable pieces. So I have to delay the restoration process of the other ones. But guys, if you don't know how to properly store a fountain pen, it's best to preserve it like it is. And when you have time, and when you have especially money and time to bring it to life, you should bring it to life. Unless it is NOS piece, and I recommend an NOS piece to leave it as it is. Leave it in its box. If you find it in its box, probably a museum piece. And this is certainly not a common pen. So, okay guys, let me change the angle of the camera. Okay, like this. Yes. Gently, gently. I have here a piece of paper, not too fancy, but it is what it is. Let me open, let's give a little shake to the ink bottle. Let me put this here. And let me get a tissue. Let me see. So, I have a tissue right over here. Always be prepared. Let's see, the angle is good. A little zoom. Yes. Again, the wonderful piece. You can post it like this. Of course, I won't post it. I won't use it posted. This is the wonderful nib. This is the ink right here. I will dip it in ink. Give it a little shake. Now let's remove the excess of the ink. I will leave the ink that has remained on this beautiful ski slope type feeder. Okay, let me put this aside. Always you should put back this cap to avoid accidents, but now I'm leaving it open because maybe it will need some re-dipping in ink. So this is a Montblanc 144, and yes guys, let me zoom for you to see better. I will dip it again in ink. So let me put the ink here. Okay, dip it again in ink, remove this excess and place here. This is a Montblanc 144. This is a masterpiece. This means it's the export model. I believe it was made in 1952 or 1953. And I'm basing this guess. I'm sorry, I have to clean this part of the grip section. So I'm basing my estimation on this feeder. So this feeder is specific only in the beginning of the 1950s. Montblanc 144 masterpiece, or Meisterstück in German. A beautiful, beautiful piece. This is fitted with an F nib. On the turning knob we have F minus. Maybe you can tell me what that minus stands for. F, of course, means we have a fine nib. It is a 14 karat 585 two-tone nib. And this nib is quite interesting. I've already shown you, but now I'm trying to zoom on it even more to see how the little tines separate themselves. So when I do this, you can see, and now I'm trying to apply a little bit of pressure, and you can see that line variance, especially now. Yes, you can see it. So definitely we have a little flex to it. Little flex. Specific to the gold nibs made in Germany in that period. And look at this wonderful slim looking shape of it. And that slim looking shape is given also by this ski slope type ebonite feed. One of my favorite feeds from Montblanc. And when you see this feed, guys, you know that you have an expensive and a rare piece of Montblanc history. Again, I love the beautiful multifaceted ink window. So little flex to the nib, and probably we will see also a little bit of a line variance. Let me test it for you guys. So here no pressure, and here I'm starting to apply pressure. So you definitely can see a visible line variance. It seems to be quite a juicy writer, and let me show it to you. Yes, you can see. I'm curious to see if we can do signatures with it. And yes, signatures quite well. I'm losing again the ink flow. And now I have to dip it again in ink. Okay, now I will continue my writing sample. So, flexible little line variants. I'm curious enough to see if we can reverse write with it. So let me zoom again. And let me see if we can reverse writing. And although it loses a little bit its ink flow, let me tell you, it doesn't scratch and it writes like an extra fine one in comparison with the F it usually writes. So a nice feature of this nib. What can I tell you? I don't particularly love fine nibs. I love broad nibs, oblique broad nibs, but this is not bad. It doesn't scratch. One of my fears when I use a fine nib is paper scratching, but not in this case. It has a beautiful ending, a tipped ending, you can see. This nib is superb and I like it a lot. Okay, so signature, reverse writing. Now I think I'm ready to tell you about the Fox. So the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. So this is it, guys. This is the writing sample using this wonderful 144. Just as a matter of curiosity, since you've stayed till almost 28 minutes, I have a surprise for you. Let me put this aside and let me take the 146, and this is fitted with also an F nib. You can see here an F nib, and this is a Montblanc 146. This is the nib, and I will also dip the nib, and let me see how it compares with this other nib. I will write off so here. Okay, let me put this here, and a little zoom. I think it will be in order. Now I have to. Sorry about this, guys. Let me put this here. I think I'm ready. Let me place. Okay, now it stands. So let me see. A little zoom, please. Yes, let's see how this writes. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Definitely a difference between them. I like the fact that this holds a little bit more of ink. Let me show them to you both. Why not? Let me try to write with them. I'm sorry, I hope you won't mind seeing them in action. Very nice, very nice. Let me tell you guys, when you have such wonderful pieces in your hand, it almost gives me goosebumps. When I start collecting fountain pens, I had the privilege to start buying this model, a 146 model, and it did not cost me a large sum of money. I believe I paid around I don't want to be mistaken, but around 80 euros for this, and it was my first buy. And this and another model, Souverain M800 from 1987, and it is from 1987 because it's fitted with a 14 karat gold nib, not an 18 karat gold nib like the modern M800s. But let me tell you, I had the privilege to start collecting with this one, but when I found out that I had a beautiful Montblanc from the 1950s. I thought to myself that this will be the only piece. But I had patience, and in time, look, God brought into my life this 144, and I'm very grateful for what I have in my collection. Guys, life is short, and I hope you enjoy every moment of it. And if something in this life, even if a fountain pen makes you happy, go for it. This is my advice. I hope you've enjoyed the review of this wonderful, wonderful Montblanc Masterpiece 144 from the early 1950s. I hope someday you will have some similar Montblanc from the 1950s in your collection. And believe me, guys, it's something different from the modern fountain pens. It's the beauty of owning a vintage piece is undescribable, and I hope you feel the same goosebumps that I'm feeling right now in this late time when I'm filming this video. Thank you guys for your time. I want to wish you to have a wonderful day wherever you are, and stay safe, be careful. God bless you all. Bye bye. Thank you.